Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to our Lean Learning webinar series. The topic for today is Value Stream Mapping Keys to Success. Our objectives today is to really look at applying Lean and specifically Value Stream Mapping in an office and administrative environment. So some of the points that we're going to cover today is the structure of an enterprise value stream map. And also we're going to talk about why Lean is critical in administrative and service environments. Traditionally, Lean has been applied on many production floors and many plants throughout the country, but it has often been neglected in terms of applying the ideas and concepts of Lean in an administrative and service environment. The other point that we want to talk about today is how EVSM helps to identify and drive change. Many organizations look at what we consider point improvements and often do not drive sustainable change. And what we look to and promote with EVSM is that EVSM is successful at driving sustainable change, and will help you to identify those value streams that will support improvement and drive the necessary change that organizations need to be successful. We will look at the key tasks and roles for senior leaders in successful value stream mapping projects. We will identify the level of engagement that needs to exist, and we'll identify how this new role for senior leader will drive a new sense of responsibility and also encourage the cultural shift that makes for a successful Lean enterprise. And then finally, what we want to talk about is how EVSM initiatives generate the results that are strategically important to organizations. Our experience as Lean advisors has taken us through many business sectors. In the 13 years that we have been working with clients, we have worked in traditional manufacturing settings. We have worked in a number of healthcare institutions and organizations. We've worked in education sectors, government, retail, and financial. All of these sectors rely on office and administrative processes to be successful. But surprisingly, these areas are often overlooked or misunderstood. Today, what we want to talk about is how we can introduce value stream mapping as an effective tool in an office and administrative environment. Stepping back a moment, we should take time to really understand again what Lean is about. And Lean is really a simple strategy that focuses on the elimination of waste, variation, and work imbalance. Each step must create value for the customer. And as an organization embarks on its Lean journey, over time, what it finds is that Lean becomes a way of life, and that they've really begin to adopt a customer-focused perspective. So let's look at the principles of Lean. First principle of Lean is about specifying value. And as previously mentioned, value is really something that the customer considers important and is something that the customer would willingly pay for. The second principle of Lean, mapping the flow of value, really introduces us to enterprise value stream mapping. This is about understanding what is truly happening in your business today in order to really set a foundation to drive change. And in terms of enterprise value stream mapping, we rely on principles 3 and 4 to really drive the action and the change in our mapping exercise. We'll talk more about 3 and 4 as we introduce all of the components of a value stream map. The fifth principle of Lean is really about seeking perfection. This really is telling us, and conceptually what it's telling us, is that Lean is a journey of continuous improvement, and that as organizations commit to Lean, they have to understand that this is a long-term commitment, and it's really a commitment to create a culture of continuous improvement throughout the organization, and it is not a one-time event to drive improvement and then step back. In terms of the transformation model, it really has two main pieces to create the transformation that we're looking at in terms of creating a transformation that is sustainable. The first major component is really developing a management system based upon lean principles and lean practices. The second main component of the transformation model is really about working to create the culture and introducing the lean knowledge within an organization in order to drive sustainability. On the left side, what we really begin to see is our value stream mapping model that we use that essentially says we wish to identify our value streams, the value streams that we wish to work on. Then we will go through a value stream mapping exercise where we create a current state and then develop a future state, and through that gap analysis and applying this third and fourth principle of lean in terms of flow and pull, we introduce a change plan, a structured change plan, implementation plan that will identify a number of improvement activities or kaizens. These kaizens or improvement activities really become the focal point for the team within the value stream to work on and to introduce these changes within their value streams. This is accomplished really by identifying lean champions within the organization. So it takes us to the right side of this model. And the lean champions will become the drivers of the value stream activity that organizations will be embarking on. As lean advisors, what we try to do is not only assist organizations in their value stream mapping activities, but we also work to transfer the lean knowledge to create that internal knowledge base so that lean can become embedded into the organization. Part of our value stream mapping exercise promotes and encourages cross-functional engagement. What we are really talking about is really the creation of teams that not only operate cross-functional staff, but also operate with supervisors, managers, and other subject matter experts that are deemed necessary to support an improvement activity or a value stream mapping exercise. The final piece to help drive and sustain the changes that we've put in place and also to create the environment that we're looking for is understanding the need to create the right recognition and rewards in place, really to promote and encourage the behaviors that we're looking for. Now that we've talked about the left side of the model, the right side, now I want to draw your attention to the two boxes in the middle. The top box talks about a strategic plan and lean foundations. Really what this is saying is an organization through, its external validation of what's important as well as feedback it's receiving internally, really sets a plan of action together in terms of how it will be successful in the future or what it needs to do to be successful in the future. This will identify some key areas to focus on, and in these key areas, they will become the value streams that we've identified in the left side of the model. So the idea in a lean transformation model is to select the right value streams to support the organization in moving forward based upon what its strategic plan is. By linking value stream mapping exercise with the strategic plan, what we're hoping to do and hoping to achieve is the leadership engagement and commitment to support the value stream teams. Without this engagement and commitment, most teams often fail to actually implement the changes that they have identified. So it's critical that we do tie the leadership component into the actual value stream work that we're doing. We'll talk more on that as we move through a couple more slides. Ultimately, with the lean management system, with the internal knowledge being acquired within the organization, and with the right strategic planning, we've really set ourselves up to create what we would call a lean enterprise, which is really an enterprise that is focused and committed to continuous improvement. If we step back and look at a structure of a value stream map, what we'll see is value stream mapping is really nothing more than a tool that is adopted and used by Lean to provide a detailed understanding of the end-to-end process, capturing both our value-added and non-value-added activities. As well, we're also looking to capture and understand both the formal and informal information and communication flow that currently happens in order to bring some type of a request through to a result for our client. So when we start looking at a value stream map, we often say, where should we start? What does enterprise value stream mapping inside the four walls of the organization really mean? And what does end-to-end mean? Often in early applications of value stream mapping, it was applied primarily, and the four walls was primarily viewed as being the manufacturing floor or the production plant. As you start to look at and I guess add the enterprise component to value stream mapping, you begin to move upstream of the plant floor and downstream of the plant floor to understand that there's office and administrative processes that are supporting what is traditionally what we were mapping. So as we first began to work with traditional manufacturing environments, what we saw was there was that need to capture the office administrative environments in our value stream maps. Then as we began to work with other organizations in non-traditional manufacturing sectors, we began to understand that the knowledge that we acquired from our work with office and administrative processes within the manufacturing process could be adopted and applied to all of these other non-traditional manufacturing sectors. So as we start to look at our value stream, we now start to ask people to step back and look at things from where does the initial request come to us, and when is our last touch point before we deliver to our client. That truly defines our end-to-end, and that begins to really move us between departments and through different departments, and really begins to define what end-to-end means. It also takes us to the point where we can look at any value stream, regardless of what we do, whether it's in the service industry, whether it's in healthcare, education, or government, and say any sort of a request through to completion to a client represents a value stream, and regardless of what the activity is, we could map it much like we've done in a traditional manufacturing environment. What does the structure of a value stream map look like? So this is the model that we adopt and promote, and it's really based upon understanding your current state. So that's really the first component of a value stream map, is the current state map, in which we will value stream map the end-to-end processes based upon how we currently do things. Once we've documented and captured our current state, what we will then do is apply the principles of Lean, specifically principle 3 and 4, to create a future state map based upon flow and meeting the needs of our clients. That gap between our current state and our future state becomes our implementation plan. That implementation plan is a series of Kaizen events or rapid improvement events that we've identified in our mapping exercise, that these are the changes we need to make in order to achieve our future state. That leads us to a successful value stream mapping exercise. In order to ensure that our value stream mapping exercise has the support of the organization and that we're focused in the right area, there's two components we really need to look at. The first component is to identify what is commonly referred to as product families. Product families ensures that we're not trying to optimize one output or one outcome at the expense of others. I'll go into further detail on that when we look at what we mean by product families. The second critical factor to support a value stream improvement exercise is looking at the strategic plan for an organization. Organizations need to select the critical value streams that will support and drive the results that are necessary in order to create an organization that's successful and sustainable in the long term. The linkage of value stream activity to the strategic plan is critical. Without it, we lose the leadership support that many people who have mapped previously have experienced in terms of leadership not supporting the change or leadership not providing the necessary resources to complete the Kaizen implementation, or leadership that keeps changing the direction and the implementation plan on the value stream team. Perhaps this slide will perhaps help to better illustrate what I've been saying in terms of creating a product family. What you will see down the left-hand side is what I'm referring to as different products or services or deliverables that we as an organization produce or create for our clients. Across the top is a series of processing steps from 1 to 10. For each of those deliverables A through G, I've put an X wherever that product has work done to it. For instance, product A goes through processing step 1, 3, 4, 6, and 8. Likewise, we can do the same all the way through for all of the deliverables, A through G. Once we've created this matrix, what we then want to do is to group the products or deliverables that share the same processing steps. This, in turn, becomes our product family and, in essence, defines our value stream. So our value streams here would be the red value stream, as per the red oval, and it would define a value stream that's looking at the end-to-end processes for the family of products or deliverables defined as A, B, or C. Likewise, we have a green value stream and a blue value stream. So that really helps us define our value streams so that we're value stream mapping end-to-end processes of mixed products, and we're sure to examine and develop improvement activities that will satisfy the needs of all of those products rather than optimizing one at the expense of the other. Then I want to draw your attention to step 3. Step 3 is somewhat unique in the sense that all work to produce or to create products A through G go through processing step 3. If you look at it from a traffic perspective, this is sort of that intersection where we have lots of traffic and everyone wanting to get through. In this area, or in that processing step, we really need to figure out how do we organize processing step 3 to not only satisfy the needs of each of the value streams, but also to look at it understanding that each value stream is actually competing with one another. So this is where we would refer to it as a shared resource. And I would suggest to you that in many office and administrative environments, you see this type of a scenario on a regular basis. This is specifically true for the smaller organizations where you have many people in the front office doing a lot of multitasking. And often that person working on processing step number 3 is looking to optimize their work as opposed to understanding how that will impact the end-to-end value streams, regardless of whether it's values, the red value stream or the blue value stream or the green value stream. So part of our value stream mapping exercise will be to understand all of the pressures that occur throughout each of the processing steps that are driving different behaviors. Types of products and services that we would see in an office administrative service type environment. Certainly just a partial list, but things that you might want to consider is our hiring, end-to-end hiring practice, payroll, accounts receivable and payable, engineering design, procurement, customer service, order processing, scheduling, financial reporting, data processing, data entry, productivity and performance reporting, and the list goes on. In some organizations, these may be standalone value streams. In most organizations, we would see multitasking where different people are involved to support any one of or any mix of these activities at any given point in time. We would actually see that processing step in the previous chart come to life in many of these end-to-end processes. And often you would see these competing with one another. It is only through a value stream mapping exercise would we be able to begin to unravel all of these connections and begin to understand the impact of one activity on another or on another value stream altogether. So who are our customers? From a lean perspective, we consider the customer as the end user of the product or service that we provide. In many office environments, it may be difficult to understand who that customer is, especially if it's an external customer. Often what we see in office and operations is that we're trying to satisfy a multitude of both internal and external customers. And you know, the interesting point in this exercise is really to think about it. Who prioritizes the work in an office environment? Is it the person doing the job? Or is it the person who screams the loudest or sends the most emails? Are they the one getting the attention? Or is it the person with the most authority? I'll do my work, but if I get an email or a phone call from a certain individual, I drop everything and work on their request. Or, most importantly, or from a lean perspective, could we say that it's the value stream, that it's our end-to-end process, our end-to-end system thinking that's really driving how we make our decisions in terms of what we do? I would suggest that the first three are probably most likely in many, many organizations. So what's the leadership role in this? Well, to start to tie everything together, let's look at it in terms of the directors, the senior leaders. there has to be an expectation for them to really set the business strategy to help us select the right value streams so that we're linking our value stream effort back to the success of the organization. It really sets the strategy and the goal and the deployment of resources to support that. Then we have the drivers, sort of the middle managers, the people that are managing the day-to-day and who are also responsible for driving improvement in their areas. Somehow we have to link that business strategy back to those middle managers so that they understand what lean improvements are necessary that will support the strategy and goal, that would really meet the needs of what their senior leadership is asking of them, and will also focus them away from not only managing the day-to-day business, but also understanding that they have to focus on the future and driving change. And then finally, the drivers, the middle managers, really need to engage what we're calling the doers, freeing up those resources so that they can not only participate on value stream mapping teams, but they can also participate on the actual rapid improvement events, the actual Kaizen events, in terms of driving the changes that were identified in the value stream implementation plans. It is really freeing up those process owners, project leads, subject matter experts, and staff to drive change that ultimately delivers on the promise that we're looking for and will support the business strategy of the organization. What impedes success? In many cases, we often hear we don't have time to drive improvement. We're too busy doing the day-to-day. Often we're too busy firefighting. This is traditionally what we see when we work with clients or begin to work with clients. We often run into this scenario. And if you look at the legend, the red tells us when we're not available in terms of finding time to do things, in terms of continuous improvement, in terms of lean. And then the black is when they're possibly available. But if you look closely, you'll notice that there's never a time where we see any black. Most organizations are either racing to get through or catch up with what they fell behind on. They're usually dealing with some sort of annual variation, seasonality factors, whether it be vacation or a busy time of the year. Often we're faced with the reality that people and organizations can't find the time to do the value stream mapping exercises that are required to not only drive success, but actually free up their time to become more committed to continuous improvement. So what are we looking for a successful value stream mapping implementation? What we need is value stream selection that's linked to our strategic goals, as mentioned before. We need charter documents that clearly identify roles, responsibilities, clearly determine the scope of work and expected deliverables. And we have to have senior leadership that will be supportive of, first and foremost, system thinking, not chasing point improvements and chasing symptoms of bad processes, but looking at things from a value stream perspective. We must have senior leadership that support and introduce the right performance metrics, so we're driving the right behaviors. And we have to give the teams the responsibility and the authority to drive change. All too often, we give teams responsibility without the authority, and the leadership team needs to understand that they need to let go and allow the teams to drive the changes that are necessary. And we also need our leadership team to be available to remove roadblocks. Roadblocks are a natural occurrence, particularly as you are first embarking on a lean journey, and it's up to the senior leadership to support the value stream teams and the Kaizen teams to remove those roadblocks so that we can actually execute what we're trying to do. So as we begin to look at the keys to success, I really want to introduce you to this notion of 4 pieces of a puzzle that are really tying everything together. The first piece and the most critical element is really the passion, and that's a leadership requirement in terms of understanding that there's a need for change, probably tied back to the strategic direction, the reason why we need to be better, the notion that continuous improvement is what we need to promote and encourage with our organization in order to be sustainable in the future. That passion has to be communicated throughout the organization so that everyone understands why we're looking to improve and drive change within their own specific work environments. So tied to that passion is really now the knowledge piece. How do we get the right knowledge, and what is the knowledge to really drive the change that we're looking for? And from our perspective, lean is really that answer. We need to not only provide the lean training, but ultimately create that lean internal knowledge, create that knowledge transfer so that the organization is able to really embrace lean internally as the thinking that will drive continuous improvement. Combined with the passion, the knowledge is next really the plan. How do we put a plan together so that we're focusing our resources on the right things at the right time to drive the changes that are critical to meeting the goals of the organization? And that plan is really driven by the enterprise value stream mapping tool that we've discussed today. Finally, out of that plan is really the change, the list of changes, the list of rapid improvement events that we must undertake in order to realize the changes that will deliver in terms of cost, quality, and service. What are the drivers of success? And it's really the execution piece that is where most companies find difficulty. And it's really the execution piece is mostly about freeing up the necessary resources to make it happen. So with those 4 pieces of the puzzle, as an organization that is committed to free resources up to drive the changes necessary to meet the strategic plan, with the right knowledge and with the right plan, we're really focused on providing a successful organization or creating a successful organization. And that really is encompassed within our value stream mapping exercise, within our 6-month cycle of continuous improvement. So together, putting in the structure, the passion, the plan, knowledge, and execution, combined with the tool, value stream mapping, we are geared and we are organized to actually drive the improvement opportunities that are required to be successful. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today for our webinar. We do have a couple of questions that have come in during the course of the webinar that I'd like to take the opportunity to answer. The first one is advanced training required to learn how to value stream map. In response to that, I would say that before you begin value stream mapping, you should have an understanding of lean, and I would recommend in terms of value stream mapping that perhaps you would read a book called Learning to See by Shook and Rother. It is probably the first book explaining value stream mapping, and the only caution I offer is that the book is written from a manufacturing perspective. So you'd have to certainly put it in your own context within your own work environment and organization in terms of what sector you are working in. Ideally, I would say that the best learning comes from doing. So on-site training and facilitation is probably the ideal way to learn how to value stream map and understand the nuances of value stream mapping so that you can sort of retain that knowledge and This will allow you to continue mapping well and beyond having the support from an external resource. Another question that I'd like to answer is, it says here that I would like to value stream map my own department, but should I wait until lean is introduced within my company and I have senior management involvement? Obviously, this would be ideal. However, if you are responsible for day-to-day operations and expected to improve your performance within the area that you're managing, then I don't see nothing wrong with using value stream mapping to help support those endeavors. Remember to properly identify your value streams and only map the part of the value stream that you are responsible for. Ideally, you want to improve your own area first before you extend your value stream mapping beyond your own department. We are now running out of time, so once again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. If you want more information, do not hesitate to call us at the 1-800 number on the screen or our email address, or visit us on our website. Once again, thank you for joining us today.